This is where the story turns, where the empath stops observing and starts awakening, where the illusion collapses and the truth rises. Take in a slow and deep breath. Exhale. Settle in. This is the moment everything changes. The awakening. When the empath sees the truth. I'm Lindsay, and welcome to Truth Talk. Stillness. That's where we left the empath. Not frozen, not frightened, but listening. Listening to the truth beneath the narcissist's noise. Listening to the intuition beneath the confusion. Listening to the soul beneath the story. And in that stillness, something ancient began to stir. A knowing, a remembering, a rising. Because every empath has a moment. A single defining moment. When the fog lifts and the truth steps forward. Like a figure emerging from smoke. This was that moment. The first realization. This is not love. It didn't come as a shout. It didn't come as a breakdown. It didn't come as a dramatic confrontation. It came as a whisper. A whisper from the body. A whisper from the intuition. A whisper from the soul. This is not love. not the kind that nourishes, not the kind that grows, not the kind that heals. This was imitation love. Love shaped like a hook. Love designed to bind. Love engineered to confuse. And once the empath recognized the imitation, the spell began to break. Because you cannot be trapped by a lie you can see. The second realization: this is a pattern. The empath began to notice the repetition, the cycles, the tactics, the emotional choreography. Love bombing, gaslighting, triangulation, silence, repeat. It wasn't personal. It wasn't unique. It wasn't destiny. It was a script. A script the narcissist had used before. A script they would use again. A script they believed would work forever. But the empath had read this script before in other relationships. And childhood wounds. And the echoes of past pain. And this time, they recognized it. Recognition is liberation. Recognition is clarity. Recognition is the beginning of awakening. The third realization. This is a test of identity. the empath began to see the deeper truth. This wasn't a battle for love. This wasn't a battle for attention. This wasn't a battle for validation. This was a battle for identity. The narcissist wanted to rewrite the empath's identity into something small. Something dependent. Something controllable. But the empath's identity was forged in fire. In childhood wounds, in spiritual battles, in the long nights where survival was the only prayer they had left. The empath had already survived what the narcissist was trying to inflict. And that is the moment the empath remembered who they were. Not a victim. Not a target. Not a supply. A survivor. A seer. Soul with depth. A spirit with discernment. A being with divine protection. The mirror turns. This is where the story shifts. Because once the empath awakens, they stop absorbing the narcissist's energy and start reflecting it. Not intentionally. Not vindictively. Not as revenge. But as truth. Truth is the empath's natural state. Truth is their frequency. Truth is their spiritual signature. And when truth meets deception, deception begins to unravel. The narcissist felt it first. A subtle shift. A loss of control. A crack in the illusion. They couldn't name it, but they felt it. The empath's energy changed. Their eyes changed. Their presence changed. They were no longer leaning in. They were leaning back. Observing. Seeing. Understanding. And the narcissist felt exposed. Because when the narcissist realizes they cannot control you, they panic. Not outwardly, not visibly, but internally, in the place where their ego lives. And their fear hides. The collapse of the illusion. The narcissist tried everything. More love bombing. More gaslighting. More triangulation. More silent treatments. More emotional theatrics. But nothing worked. Because the empath was no longer responding from fear, from confusion, from longing, from hope. They were responding from clarity. And clarity is kryptonite to manipulation. The narcissist tactics began to look childish, predictable, transparent. The empath saw the wounds behind the behavior, the emptiness behind the ego, the fear behind the cruelty. And once you see the wound, the weapon loses its power. The spiritual awakening. This is the moment the empath stepped into their spiritual authority. Not loudly, not dramatically, not with confrontation, but with presence. A presence that said, I see you. I understand you. But I do not belong to you. A presence that said, my soul is not your playground. My heart is not your feeding ground. My mind is not your maze. A presence that said, I choose myself. And choosing yourself is the most spiritual act a wounded soul can perform. Because choosing yourself is choosing God's voice over someone else's manipulation. Choosing yourself is choosing truth over illusion. Choosing yourself is choosing identity over erasure. Let us stop here now. In the moment of awakening, in the moment of clarity, in the moment where the empath rises and the narcissist loses their grip. I'll see you in the next episode. Because the next episode is the rise, the empowerment, the reclamation, the guided meditation, the spiritual restoration. The next part is where the empath steps fully into their divine identity and walks out of the story with power, with peace, with protection, with purpose. No matter what someone has ever done to you, always honor your body. Be kind to your mind. And let your spirit soar free. I'm Lindsay, your certified clinical hypnotherapist and certified hypnosis instructor. Calm is your comeback. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, feel free to visit us at www.truthtalk.com or find us to schedule your session for transformation under Coastal Counseling on Psychology Today.